What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Mets'd podcast. If you guys are watching us on YouTube, you can see today we're joined by a very special guest. It is Nick Pollock of Pitcher List. Not even of Pitcher List, he is Pitcher List, and we're going to talk everything Mets starting pitchers because that's Nick's expertise, and that's probably the problem spot for this Mets roster right now. It's probably where we have the most questions, where we have the most things to talk about because there is a lot to talk about here. But first, before we get started, make sure you guys are following us on all of our social media at Mets'd. That's Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Also, if you guys aren't subscribed, make sure you go on YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're going for 10,000 subscribers. We're almost there, a few hundred away. Opening day is quickly approaching us. We did not achieve this goal, but help us get there. Big red button on there. We know you guys aren't subscribed, so subscribe. But let's go. Nick, so great to see you. So great to have you back on. A few years off the Mets'd podcast. Thrilled you're back.
Oh, man. Thank you so much for having me. It was great to see you, too, over the weekend. And yes, His hair is that good in person, everyone. It's true.
I'm proud that James, that was a clean intro, James. No re-recording, nothing. You were ready to roll there. That was good.
2 days in a row helped a lot, truthfully. But, Nick, I need some takes on the Mets pitching staff right now. There's someone that I had this idea because I was listening to your podcast. You did the Eno Saris about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, The Craft. And you had a moment where in my brain listening to you, I was like, oh my gosh, I think Nick might internally becoming a Mets fan because you were talking about Tylor Megill, who for the years has been one of your favorite underrated low-key sleeper picks in fantasy baseball. And then Eno was talking about him and he was lauding him about how many more pitches he's developed and how exciting the fastball and sinker are together. And then you went reverse. You were like, he can't locate his fastball. He's not efficient. He never gets out of his innings. He doesn't know where the ball is going. And to me, I was like, I need Nick to come on and talk about Tylor Megill. So Nick, tell me what you've seen about Tylor Megill, what you like and don't like about Tylor Megill, and how in your mind you made the shift from the fantasy industry to actually becoming a Mets fan mentally.
Okay, well, wow. This is not fair, okay? You asked me to come on as a guest, and then what you do is you put words in my mouth. You bring me back to childhood where I was a Yankee fan and all my friends were Mets fans. And because I didn't like how they would just root against me all the time, there was 1 year that I said, you know what? I'll be a Mets fan with you guys because you need it, right? And then I went back to the Yankees the next year and they will never forget that one, right? And this is how it feels right now, James. Because if you actually read the SP Roundup every day, as you should, of course, you would know that I called him Tylor Megill initially when he was covering for Jacob deGrom. He was opening day starter. He looked so good, 99-mile-per-hour fastballs past Juan Soto. Oh, my gosh. And then he never did it again. It just never quite got there. And I got off that boat, 2.5 years ago? Something along those lines. And this is the thing about Tylor Megill is that he has a skill set that should work. It's a four-seamer that generally averages at least 95 and not 96. He has extension up the wazoo, and I've become obsessed with extension, guys. And there's actually another guy on your team that has it that we'll talk about soon. But Tylor Megill is really good with it. It's not just 7 feet, which is really the threshold we care about. If you want to guys know about extension, just know that 6.5 is like the average. And when you get above that, you're like, okay, this is fine. When you get to 6 feet, you go, uh-oh. That 95 actually is more like 93 and change. And then you see some guys that are like 5.5, and you just go, no. This is not very good. You should think of like 3 ticks off the fastball. You should think also worse for tunneling. That is, you're going to get earlier separation between your slider and your fastball, so it's easier for guys to hit, right? So that's why guys like Garrett Crochet are so tough, because they have such good extension that the cutter and the fastball with that velocity are so hard to determine, and it's late with that tunneling, right? So Tylor Megill has that. He has over 7 feet. It's like 7'2", 7'3", which is amazing. And he doesn't know what to do with it. And what's so frustrating is that he also has this fastball that's kind of flat in a good way. That's like a flat attack angle. It's made for him to just attack the top of the zone, like Bailey Ober does it with his high extension. And he doesn't even have the velocity that Tylor Megill does. But Megill can't locate this thing.
Yeah, Ober has great command.
Oh my gosh, it's not about control. It's about just throw it in the upper third of the zone. And then I don't really care what else you've got. Sinker, changeup, cutter, slider. They don't need to be elite. They just need to go underneath it. And then guys like, well, this is a lot of extension and it's really hard. And now I don't know which one this is, and I'm going to struggle. And every single time I watch Tylor Megill, I see like a couple of these that are just, so beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
And then he just can't replicate it. And I've been waiting for him to replicate this for ages. Eno talks about the stuff being good. And yeah, he's not wrong, because Stuff Plus in our model PLV, actually we'll ding him because the location's worse, but we will see like, hey, this should work if you're able to locate decently. You just can't. So I want this to work, and I will see starts this year that Tylor Megill will show up. It will be the day of the Tylor, right? But there will be so many when it's just no. It's bad. It's Megill, McCuddy. I don't know. It's just bad.
Is there anything that stands out as to maybe why he lacks this command? Like you said that he's not really able to repeat or like stay consistent with it. Is it just a mechanical thing for him?
Well, right. Generally, when you have these big boys, and that's like 6'6" or something like that? 6'8"?
At least 6'5".
So what that means is you have, I mean, I'm a lanky guy myself. You have longer arm circles, right? Your arm is just longer, which means the actual distance you're traveling is farther if you have a long arm circle. And thus, you find your release point less reliably. It's a problem for Tyler Glasnow. Glasnow has one of the greatest extensions in the majors, and you might be surprised to know that his fastball, despite being a 96, 97 with his excellent extension, does not have a 10% swinging strike rate.
Wow.
Because he doesn't locate it well. It's very inconsistent. He doesn't keep it upstairs. He keeps it middle or down or whatever. But what makes him so good is that because of that extension, he always keeps his slider and curveball down, and that curveball is way more vicious than anything that Megill has, and also the slider is way more vicious than anything Megill has, right? So that's why he's a big strikeout guy. And you might not remember that Glasnow was not very good until the slider showed up, right? And it's because of that extension. He had something that you could throw for strikes underneath it. Megill doesn't. And there were moments last year, even we had that cutter appear, and we're like, oh, we'll do cutter. And then it went away, and he stopped throwing it because he just didn't have a feel for it, right? And it's just, I'm done. I'm done. All right. I don't like the show Jersey Shore, but I don't even remember their name. But like, there was that one couple where the woman was always like, I'm done.
Ronnie and Sammy.
Yeah, I'm done. The chicken, it's done. That's how I feel about Megill.
Again, like this to me is the proliferation of someone who comes from the fantasy side, just the nuts and bolts pitching side, to now seeing Megill through the eyes of the Mets fan, where he keeps getting the chance. They keep seeming so close to what it could be, how it could be great. I'm still in. I think still like I want volume. I think he can provide volume at least, but it's funny to hear that take.
There are worse guys. Worse guys. I'm thinking a little bit more for fantasy purposes. For the SP5 for the Mets, fine.
Yeah.
But you're not going to really see too many of those like, oh my gosh, Tylor Megill with the gem tonight. This is amazing. Like, that's not going to be too often.
When you talked about worse guys, the Mets picked up one of the worst pitchers in baseball last year, Griffin Canning. And he's looked incredible in spring training. Is this real? Is this legit? Well, Can we get excited about Griffin Canning?
I mean, you can if you like. Yeah, I'll tell you this. I actually went to my bagel shop yesterday, who are Mets fans. Nice. I actually I partnered with a company and they sent me like Yankee overalls in a like a big giant sun hat, and I said, hey, can I get a Mets one too? And so they gave me a Mets sun hat and like a floral shirt, and I gave the sun hat to my guy at the bagel shop. I went down to spring training and was wearing it.
Nice.
He's the only guy with it, and he was so proud of it. And this is what he said. I actually went over yesterday. I was like, how are you feeling about these guys? He's like, who's that young guy with the K in his name? I'm like, you mean Griffin Canning? Yeah, I love him. It's like the C. But look, yesterday, Griffin Canning had 9 strikeouts, right? 4.2 innings. Mm-hmm. This was on Monday. And he does what I call dancing with the disco. And it's popularized by Anthony Desclafani, otherwise known as Tony Disco, who would throw about 40 to 45% sliders, and not well spotted ones, just ones over the plate. They're just like, look, like instead of throwing fastballs over the plate as we used to in the 90s and the 2000s, like Rick Reed, Rick Reed, John Maine, it's not that anymore. You can go 45% sliders and get away with it. And Tony Desclafani did this a ton. And that's what Griffin Canning did in this one. It was 51% sliders yesterday. What was interesting is that it was just 3 pitches, actually. No more sinkers in there, no more. I think he had some curves they used to throw as well. Just 4-seamer, slider, change. And changeup was 25%, four-seamer 25%. I think Canning is at his best at 25% four-seamer. We see a lot of games that it's 40% out of nowhere. He really does do well when he's able to throw strikes with sliders and changeups, or at least as well as he can, because that slider gets hit inside the zone a lot still. It's not an elite slider. The changeup can be all right. It's just still not an elite pitch. And the four-seamer certainly isn't. So, yeah, you can get 5 innings out of this dancing with the disco. We've seen that. Simeon Woods Richardson would do that last year. Zach Littell would do that, right? We've seen Michael Lorenzen do this. These are, it's a common thing of guys as the SP5s to just throw a ton of sliders and get through games, right? But it's not 9 strikeouts in 4.2 innings. That is just not going to happen. And I don't think you really want to be relying on this from Griffin Canning. Also, it's not a certainty that he's going to throw 50% sliders every time, too. It's something he rocks back and forth with, and it's why he struggled so much with the Angels last season. So I'm not seeing anything new. Like, I want to give praise to the Mets generally of like, hey, maybe you're figuring things out. You identify Clay Holmes as a starter, and that might work. And we'll talk about the Adobe soon. But with Griffin Canning, I'm seeing nothing new. And that concerns me, concerning how well last year went.
This year, there's nothing holding you back from loving your hair again. Let Nutrafol target the key root causes of your thinning hair and help you grow stronger, healthier strands from within.
Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people. See thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol.
Building a hair growth routine is simple. Purchase online, no prescriptions required. Automated deliveries and free shipping keep you on track. Plus, with a Nutrafol subscription, you can save up to 20%.
Start your hair growth journey with Nutrafol for a limited time. Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code FOUL. Find out why over 4,500 healthcare professionals and stylists recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code FOUL. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code FOUL.
All right, you brought up Clay Holmes. Now I think it's time to begin the Clay Holmes experience. He's been one of the most, sensational, most talked about pitchers through spring training, mostly for the Mets-Yankees factor, also in the fantasy baseball circles, the way he's moving up. What have you seen from Clay Holmes this spring that makes you think, because I saw the last starting pitcher rankings, he was inside the top 50 in starting pitchers in the league. That's technically a low-end SP2 in terms of Major League Baseball. What have you seen from Clay Holmes this year that makes you think that this could be real, or what could still be in his way for being a real starting pitcher?
Now understand that's a top 50 for fantasy baseball, guys. Okay, there's a big difference between fantasy. Like, for example, Merrill Kelly is still a better pitcher in major leagues than Clay Holmes. I know that sounds wild, but he will go deeper into games more consistently, and you can bank on that in the majors more than Clay Holmes right now, okay? But I'm actually curious what your takes are on Clay Holmes, as, like, I've been just scrutinizing this. You know, I've got my pad and paper and my visor. Now, it's been interesting because, you know, here he is a reliever and coming in, and he's showing different things now. What are, Mark, what is your take on Clay Holmes so far?
I like that you're flipping it on us and you're asking us the questions.
Yeah,
on the podcast.
Well, I don't want to just be, I don't want to create bias for this.
I'll say this. So again, a lot of my takes are coming from James pumping the Clay Holmes tires here a lot, but I think he can be a starting pitcher. The concern with me is how many pitches can he legitimately throw? Like, we've seen 70 good pitches. Can he get to 80, 90, 100? We kind of need it right now. So that's my thing, is like, I can see him being really, really good for 5 innings on a consistent basis, like we've seen so far in spring, but can he get to the 6th inning? And that might be the difference maker for the Mets and Clay Holmes actually being successful for this team.
Sure. I mean, I totally get that. I mean, James, are you on the same page as Mark?
I mean, similarly, I think we're at a point right now where we've hit like the Clay Holmes fever pitch. And I think that now, at the beginning of the offseason, when the signing happened, beginning of spring training, I think that we had to get closer to where the expectations were in reality, because people were like, this is going to be a failed experiment. Because I think people assume that sometimes with the Mets in situations like that. Now we're over the top, where especially the fact that just anecdotally he's starting on opening day, people are like, Clay Holmes is new ace, when realistically we're still probably looking at a guy who's going to top out around 120, 130. Maybe we can dream on 104 the innings. But then the place where I start to get concerned with Clay Holmes again is that as he's now stretched himself to 50, 60, 70 pitches in the spring, we're seeing his velocity really taper down a lot. We're seeing a lot more 94s than 96s, especially as he gets a couple times through the batting order. And I'm not sure how effective either of his fastballs could be if they even start to bleed down to the 93s once we get to 80, 90, 100 pitches. I think that's where some concerns come creeping back into my mind now with Clay Holmes.
Man, so I was at the winter meetings, and I was able to sit down with Paul Spohr, Lance Brzezowski, Cyrus. We did like an episode of The Craft, and it was like, all right, these free agents haven't been signed yet. Who's going to get? Who's going to trade for Crochet? Who's going to get Max Fried and Corbin Burns? And I wanted to have fun. You know what I said? Hey, Mets, I know you just got Soto, but double down. You're Steve Cohen. Go get Max Fried and Corbin Burns. You need it, right? And here you are right now, Mets fans, where Clay Holmes is the signing, who is your guy for opening day. And now there's this whole idea of like, oh, he is that person all of a sudden. Because when you signed him, he was supposed to be like the SP4.
Even like, more so 5, maybe.
5-ish.
Yeah, right? It was like, whoa, he's going to start. We'll see. It's wild. And he had all this depth. They're like, oh, maybe Peterson and Megill won't even make the team. I don't know. Because there's Sean Manaea and we're going to get whatever and all that. And it's just, now he's opening day starting and Senga, of course, coming back. So here's the thing. One, when it comes to the longevity for the year, do not treat Clay Holmes as if he just started those games last year. This is something I've talked about a decent amount, but in my view, if you are a reliever for the entire season and you're going constantly, that is a very similar workload to being a starter throughout a year. Maybe it's not 32 starts and 6 innings each, of course. However, it is not on the low end of like 120, as if we see guys coming back from Tommy John, right? I mean, think about it that way. When you see guys coming back from Tommy John, it's like 140 is the number, right? And I don't think you have a scenario where Clay Holmes is starting and the Mets are like, we've got enough good options. Yeah. We're fine.
Yeah.
Take a breather, Clay Holmes. Right? They are going to start Clay Holmes every single turn of that rotation until they can't. And maybe there'll be one they're like, okay, you know what? We'll skip you once. Or maybe they'll slow it down once. Probably not. I mean, Brandon Sproat is coming eventually. I'm looking forward to talking about him to you guys. I have a comp that you might like or you might not like. I don't know. But Clay Holmes is really interesting because on paper, he makes sense. Look, you're worried about, James, about Clay Holmes' sinker. And you're saying, well, okay, 96 versus 93. I don't know how that will play. That's a valid concern. Except that Clay Holmes' sinker is super lively. And a sinker baller can survive at lower velocity than a four-seamer guy.
That four-seamer is
what I
now.
see is actually a dude you theoretically should be able to go 6 innings on a lower pitch count. Because sinker ballers generally end at bats sooner and they get outs that way. This is how like Brady Singer finds the 6th inning constantly, right? Christopher Sanchez is one of the most efficient pitchers in the majors because he throws so many sinkers like this. Framber Valdez, despite having such a terrible whip, constantly finds 6 innings. Why? Because it's sinkers. This is what happens. Logan Webb, haha. Zach Wheeler. What do you know? They all have these sinkers, right? That's how you get quick outs and you end it quicker. While you have the four-seamer explosive guys, Jared Jones might be struggling a little bit more to get through that, right? Because he's more focused on that. Okay. So that should work. Problem, Clay Holmes doesn't know where it's going.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. This is the thing I've been wrestling with so much is that Clay Holmes is so volatile. And we see it even inside games. And I want to think that like if you treat every inning of a Clay Holmes start like it's a singular relief appearance with the Yankees, there's some days that he's like, all right, I got this, no problem. And then the next inning is like, well, no, okay. But then he recovers, right? And I worry that he'll be if he can really be a 6 inning consistent guy because of it. I think he's really going to be a lot of that 5.1 kind of pitcher, right? And what I do like is that he's really expanded the arsenal. Like the cutter's shown up. Okay, that kick change. Oh, we want to talk about the kick change.
Kick change.
Man, I feel kind of guilty about this because I started off in 2014 as pitcher gifts and really did all the pitching gift movement. And then like Pitching Ninja came in and then we were both doing like, oh my God, this guy's pitch is amazing. Like, look at this one singular moment. Yeah. But Clay Holmes' success is not because of the kick change, guys. All right. He's had good moments with it, and I'm very happy. But even without that changeup, like Clay Holmes would be doing well because he has multiple breaking balls. He has that cutter to get some strikes. He has that sinker, right? It helps, but it's not like a 30% thrown pitch.
Yeah.
Right. It's a compliment, a good way to get out lefties, and he needed help against lefties, and that's a very good thing to see. I hope to see that as a 60% strike rate, which is kind of the threshold of a reliable secondaries changeup. So long story short, it's good. He's an SP3. And the fact that he's your opening day guy should worry you a bit. You need a workhorse. You really, I mean, Sean Manaea was able to go to the 7th inning last year.
Yeah.
And I wasn't expecting him to again. Now you absolutely need him to when he comes back. It's not fun. And you better get on the phone getting Alcantara or someone now. Because it's
not what David Stearns does. He doesn't do it. He's never done it. Even with the Brewers. That's like, I feel like Mets fans, obviously we all want pitching. I'm on the same board too. Like I want a real ace, especially with all the stuff going around with Kodai right now and the uncertainty with him. It'd be great to get a Sandy Alcantara, a Dylan Cease, if Framber's ever available, like one of those guys for sure. But David Stearns historically has almost never traded for a frontline starter. He builds from within. There's like, think about those Brewers teams. It felt like every trade deadline you screamed, go get a pitcher, go get a pitcher. And then you got to the playoffs and you're like, oh, there's rookie Brandon Woodruff pitching in game 2 of the NLCS. Holy shit. Like, this is absolute chaos.
You can curse on this one.
Oh yeah, we curse all the time here. I mean, James, you're muted, by the way, completely. Can't hear you. But like, David Stearns doesn't do this. So to kind of now backtrack, because you mentioned Brandon Sproat, like he's a guy who's probably going to get some legit major innings, especially if things progress the way it has. Like he struggled at AAA last year. We know the ABS had a little bit to do with it. And just the fact that put more innings on his arm than he ever had before. He didn't throw that many innings in college to begin with. I want to know the comp. What's your comp that you have for Brandon Sproat? That caught my interest immediately.
Oh man. He is in the NL West. He's pretty young. He has a really good sweeper and at times has sat like 96. But doesn't have a good out pitch for lefties.
Is his name Brandon?
Who would that be?
Is his name Brandon Pfaadt?
It is.
That's sad. I don't love that.
We were just talking about yesterday, Mark and I, about we can't really get in on Brandon Pfaadt. We were talking through fantasy and just regular pitcher rankings and that. The only thing that pushes me against that is because when Sproat was coming up, his changeup was the pitch that was lauded. He was Florida. Really? That was the pitch that was giving him credit. But he's super gone away from it as he's gone to the upper minors, and he's barely thrown it this spring. So I guess if that changeup isn't something that is a trustworthy weapon for him,
that would be a big deal. I mean, that's the thing that Pfaadt has been looking for. But what I see is a mid-90s fastball guy with a sweeper as his main pitch, and I'm like, that's cool, but you need something else. Like that could be enough. Like Pfaadt has been helpful for the Diamondbacks, right? So he will be some reinforcements. But yeah, you needed Christian Scott not to get hurt.
Yeah, would have been really
nice. If you're
nice.
wondering too, like, wait, hold on a second, Christian Scott, isn't it kind of the same thing? It's like a sweeper and a fastball. Fastball Christian Scott way better than Brandon Sproats. So, also I'm like, I can't get out of my head. I just want to say Sprout, but also like I want to say Sprout like bro, like it was Sprout. Like I just want to do that, and I hate it. And you're going to have to deal with that. I'm sorry, guys, when he comes up. I don't know what you're going to do about it. You got to figure it out now. Get ahead of it.
What's going to be the pun for Brandon Sproat?
Oh, God. I don't know.
Sproat growth.
Sproaty McSproat face.
Nice. Sproaty McSproat face.
Shout
Brandon
out to naming the little boat.
But so you mentioned the fact that the Mets do need a workhorse. They kind of came into the season with two players they were expecting to be workhorses, but that fell by the wayside due to injuries in Sean Manaea and Frankie Montas.
Yeah, but did you really want them as like workhorses?
I don't know if I wanted them to be workhorses, but you have to play the hand you're dealt, Nick. This is it.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at though. Is like a workhorse. Like there's a phrase, innings eater, right? The Chad innings eater. Thank you so much, Foolish Baseball. But it's just Frankie Montas was the most Mets signing I think I've seen in a long time, because it's like, oh, I thought he was already there. And he wasn't, he's not really the guy you want for so many innings, because it's going to be kind of, it's going to be a lot of innings, but And Manaea, I know we all want to believe that stretch in the second half last year for Sean Manaea was real. It was kind of. He was better with the lower arm slot. There are two problems. One, the sinker was still hit really hard, and he got so lucky on that. And two, his control, really the overall command, I could say, was just way better. And he's also a guy that gets into rhythm constantly. Yeah. Sean Manaea is throwing cross body all the time. Like Nick Lodolo does this, right? And Sean Manaea has been this example of guys who can get into that rhythm and they get into the groove and then they're cool and it gets disrupted and then they don't get it back. I mean, there's no bigger disruption than disruption. My God, disruption's a word. It's fine. Disruption than the offseason plus an injury like this, right? Mm. So I have no expectation for Sean Manaea to be right back where he was and like that. And I'm sure at some point he'll flash that and cool. And you can just cross your fingers. It will be as good as that. But I'm sorry to be like the bearer of bad news. I do have some good news. If you want that,
give it to us.
Oh, yeah, please. Yeah, it's time for it. Yeah.
I think that David Peterson's pretty cool.
Yes. Nice. I was going to ask you because I'm not going to say all in on David Peterson, but as much as a Mets fan can be, I'm all in on David Peterson.
Why are you all in on David Peterson?
What he did last year, like there's the combination of like old baseball where like he pitched and the Mets won. I think that's really important. Like they just won games that he was on the mound, whether he kept them close, whether he actually had anything to do with them winning. They won games when he pitched. So I thought that was
anti-DeGrom.
He gave up 3 runs and the Mets were like, we'll score 11. He got the best run support ever, but also like he was healthy. And it seemed like healthy David Peterson was able to do those things that we saw flashes before where it's like they weren't hitting the ball particularly hard. He wasn't giving up runs. He got into a ton of trouble, but he was able to get out of it with like big double plays and stuff like that. Like you could chalk it up to being lucky, but I feel like for the first time in his career, like things in his body are working well. And it felt like he wasn't like a mope, which he's been in the past where like he got into trouble and he was like, oh, woe is me. Like sink the shoulders. Like I can't get out of this. It felt like he finally acknowledged that like, oh, I'm a major league pitcher. I'd belong here. And I think that's a big thing for a guy like David Peterson.
Also,
do you call Pete Alonso like Big Papa or something like that? Because, you know, Peterson and Pete Dad there, you know, it's right there. But no, the cool thing about Peterson is that he is an extension guy. He's at 7 feet. And I don't like the fact that he was lower on velocity recently, down to like 90 or something like that. I was like, what are you doing? But I hope he's all right. I hope it's fine. It's just like ramping up kind of thing. When Peterson is cruising, he utilizes that super well. He goes upstairs and actually gets pitch separation. So sinkers and four seamers are upstairs. And that's fine with me. And he has 2 secondaries that can be so filthy, especially when that changeup is really cooking. I mean, he actually took a step back on the slider, changed the shape of it, and just like made it worse. And I was really upset about it. I don't know why, because it was so effective. And then he's like, I'm going to make this worse. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. But the changeup against the right-handers, I cannot emphasize this enough. We have seen constantly of left-handed pitchers with good extension have success throwing changeup stops at handed batters. I mean, it's especially lefties. The best example, Cody Bradford. How does he do it in Texas? You might not know who that guy is. He's hurt right now for the Rangers, but last year just had this quiet, successful season, save for one game against Arizona. There was 90-91. But what happens is he has 70 feet of extension, keeps that four-seamer upstairs, and then the changeup underneath the righties that would just obliterate them. Right. And then you have like Skubal, you have like Reagans, you have Tyler Anderson, believe it or not. How did they do it? It's a changeup against the most common enemy, the right-hander. So when David Peterson has that changeup actually staying down or just getting strikes, really, like that will work. And then he has that slider that you always want a lefty to have to debilitate lefties. I feel like sliders, lefty, is somehow better than sliders righty. I don't know. It's just how it is. But it's just constantly what we've seen, and Peterson has that too. So there is a lot of opportunity there, and I think because that four-seamer and sinker don't really scream, I'm amazing, that I stay away from it a little bit. I think I also don't love how inconsistent. Like I don't know if the changeup will be there. I don't know if the slider will be there.
Oh, his mechanics are insane. Yeah,
there is. I think I have a lot more belief in Peterson doing this than Megill, who I've just like, oh my god, you don't even have an approach. Like it's just chaos.
Peterson,
chaos,
you look back, like he has had success, like whether it makes sense or not. Like there are times where he's just pitching well. You don't know why, but he does it.
He had that stretch in 22 where the strikeout minus walk rate climbed above 20 for a couple of months because that slider did have a lot.
Slider was like a 27% swing strike rate. Yeah. And they came to like 17 or something. I don't know. I should have it in front of me.
Yeah, I feel like he tightened it up to try and improve his command. I also think it's kind of nice that we waited until like 5 or 6 pitchers in to actually talk about David Peterson, because I think that's where a lot of Mets fans and other pundits are right now, despite the fact that he was the second most consistent guy.
He's the most important starter on your team right now.
He might be the guy we might need for
crazy,
innings.
But like I have no faith in
Senga. The long guy, I mean.
Yeah.
The workhorse.
I don't have faith in Senga. I think Peterson is going to throw the most innings for you this year.
What's your lack of faith in Senga, in that he's going to give us innings or in the quality of those innings?
Oh man, his last spring training start was horrific.
Bad.
So bad.
And
terrifying.
I have yet to see Senga good for a while. I mean, he was looking better before the calf.
Yeah, that Braves game, he was great.
He was awesome.
Yeah, he was actually like, maybe this is okay. But then you have to also understand there's a ton of adrenaline in that one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that isn't necessarily the guy who's going to be there, right? When you come back from an IL stint like that. It might actually have led to that calf injury because it's just your body doing more than it's expected. It's why we do see that sometimes on like opening day starts, or we see it like in returns, like, wait, why is it cut short so soon? Because it's whatever. Anyway, with Senga, it was multiple velocity ticks down. Mm-hmm. Wasn't really throwing the ghost fork, or wasn't also throwing the cutter. Like he was experimenting with everything. And to be straightforward with Senga, he's someone that has to throw a ton of cutters because the four-seamer itself isn't actually that good, but he's able to tunnel it with the cutter really well, and guys can't decide if it's the cutter or the four-seamer for strikes. So he's able to sneak by in the zone with that fastball and cutter, which then leads to the ghost fork. It is not a strikeout. Sorry, it's not a strike pitch, the ghost fork. It is a strikeout pitch. So for him to get strikeouts, he has to get strikes with something else. And the cutter fastball combo is not looking like a good thing in the spring right now. That has me very concerned. And I started to really think about this a bit of just, hold on. When have we seen him good? Should I stop wish casting that he's just fine and going to be the same guy we expected him to be this time last year? Yeah. So I'm worried about that. And I just feel bad, you know? I just feel like the Mets, you're so close. You're so close. And it's just, how did this happen?
It's David Stearns. It's the chaos.
Do you think it could be a bit of an Icarus situation happening right now with this Mets team building, where they're resting on their laurels a little bit, how much professional development they know they can do with some of these bargain veterans, how good they think that their minor league player development's been so far, they can rely on some of these guys coming up?
What development have you done with your pitching staff?
I think last year what happened with Manaea and Severino was pretty significant.
Manaea wasn't, I don't know, the coaching staff. That was Manaea looking at Chris Sale and be like, huh.
So he still before that was still better than he had been some of the time previously. And he did.
I mean, the Mets had faith in him, which was good. The Giants didn't, and it bothered me immensely because I actually liked what he was doing. Then they removed him from the rotation. Yeah. He actually was throwing harder entering 2023. We knew this. He went to Driveline. He was throwing much better, and like the Giants toyed with him. Yeah. I have a friend of mine who knows Manaea and like talked to him about this. I was like, yeah, dude, just tell Manaea I feel for him and like he deserves better. And I'm so happy the Mets signed him and like let him do it, you know? Mm-hmm. So it's stuff like that. But I guess I'm not saying that the Mets are not a good organization to develop pitchers. I just always ask because I can't tell a lot of the time. There's, for example, you have like the Guardians. Oh, the Guardians. Oh, that's a great, pitching crew there. And then we hear from Shane Bieber who says like they don't do anything once we get to the majors. Like I've got to do this myself. And like, right, that's what it is. You develop well in the minors, but the second they get there, prepare them, and it's just boop, there it is. They don't change after that, right? Or the Giants are like, oh no, look how they fixed Desclafani and they had this season from Alex Wood. Or look, no, their defense was amazing for a year.
And ballpark,
right? It wasn't the pitchers, and you're seeing like we don't have faith necessarily in the Giants themselves, do we? No. So whenever it's the pitching development of being like, okay, I believe this crew, like maybe the Rays, yeah, the Astros were, but the Astros are now behind on things. Yeah, it's all weird, guys. Mm-hmm. What is pitching? It's almost like it's nuanced and
Jeremy
different for
Hefner,
everyone.
that's all it is. It's the Hef God.
At least it's not the Rockies, okay? Or like the Nationals. Sorry, the Nationals are not good at this, and it drives me up the wall. All right? Those are the ones I'm just like, oh, gosh, this is bad. Cardinals, oh, God, the Cardinals.
Oh, yeah, they've fallen behind. They're like in the Stone Age now. We know the Cardinals are not even close to anything.
No.
At least they didn't hire the owner's son to be the head of R&D like the Rockies did. But I digress. I still think there is. So again, do you think the Mets may have made a huge mistake here in how they align this pitching staff entering a season where they have one of probably 3 to 5 best offenses in baseball?
Do you really want to have Paul Blackburn in this squad?
Hell yeah. Give me Paul Blackburn. We have a thing on the podcast where we're going to be at a Paul Blackburn start on a Sunday at 1 o'clock. We're going to have 6 beers. We're going to watch him pitch 6 innings, give up 4 runs, 1 walk, a bunch of hits, and the Mets are going to win. That's what it is.
Yeah. Mets are going to win 6-4.
Once.
It's going to happen all year.
He's the last guy we haven't talked about. Do you have any takes on Paul Blackburn? Anything?
No.
Nothing.
I mean, there are times that Blackburn is able to like manipulate all the things well, and cool. Like Blackburn is a pitcher who he will give himself a shot to survive.
Yes.
Right? He's a survivalist.
Yes.
Of like, he's trying to make sure he doesn't allow 8 earned runs in 3 innings.
Cockroach.
Right? And you have to let the hitters beat you. So sometimes they don't. Sometimes what I like to say is when it's BABIP luck, I say from the graces of Koufax. Okay, so sometimes Koufax is there to help him out, and that's cool. But you really don't want to rely on this every 5-6 days.
That's the best rotation. There's a lot of guys, but they did it last year too, right? You look at that rotation last year, and you were like,
Severino was your workhorse.
He was, but he was also the worst pitcher in baseball the year prior. Manaea was horrible with the Giants. It's like, I agree with James. Like, this is definitely something that we've talked about where it's like they might be flying too close to the sun. Maybe this was like a major oversight of like, we can do it again and it's going to fail miserably. But if they do it again, all of a sudden now, like, you're like, is this a legit thing? Or is it Citi Field? Yeah. Maybe Citi Field plays into it too.
Yeah, because the guy that is missing is Jose Quintana for a 3.75 ERA over 175 innings. Like, that's exactly what I think they probably really deep down in their gut hope that David Peterson becomes. It's kind of like figuring out this rotation, who's the Manaea, who's the Severino, who's the Peterson. And I think they kind of hope that is, who's the Quintana? And they hope that's Peterson, Canning, and Holmes. I think that's probably where maybe McGill sprinkle in.
I mean, Jose Budo is going to do things sometimes, guys.
He's going to pitch in relief, I think.
Yeah, they said he's not going to start.
Yeah, at all.
No. They want to use him out of the bullpen. Yeah.
Well, I mean, no, initially, yes.
No,
they've said he's a full-time reliever. Without the options, I don't think they have any intention of stretching him out.
Well, right, but I mean, like, okay, so hold on. I'm just going to throw this out there, okay? Let's say you get another 2 injuries. What happens?
I mean, me and Mark start warming up our arms. What do you mean? Maybe you get a call up there, Nick. We'll take you.
But you understand my point of like Budo has experience doing it. We'll only get like 2 innings the first time. But even in the spring, it's not been like 1 inning only. They have kept him like longer relief kind of thing. So that's what I'm getting at of maybe you'll see that kind of thing.
Give Julio Teheran a call.
I mean, they said they probably will consider him. I think that's going to be the mindset with Budo and Max Kranick because there's going to be a lot more holes to fill in with this pitching staff in April and May, especially until we can get at least one of Manaea or Montas back. While Clay Holmes is still building up, we don't know what's going to happen with Tylor Megill or Griffin Canning. I think there's going to be a big reliance on both Budo and Kranick to give 40, 35 to 50 pitches certain times out of the bullpen, hopefully 2 to 3 innings, bridge that gap from a 4-inning start to the late relief, which the Mets should be good.
You can do the Tigers thing, right? But I know Kranick is someone I did forget about. There's someone on our Discord who's just obsessed with Kranick.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's not going more than 2 innings, you know? It's but he's not really any different than what we've seen in the past with like the Pirates, just so we're clear too. That said, that he probably would get those chances before Budo. As far as your prospects outside of Sproat, is there anyone?
No one to get like particularly excited about just yet. That could be on the major league level this year, but like Tidwell's definitely going to get a look. I think Dom Hamill probably gets a look again at some point. He's due to make the majors and just at least make one start, see what he's got. Anybody else?
They're still a full year away. We have Justin Hagenman, who's the sinker baller that they have as the organizational depth right now.
Brandon Waddell.
They've gotten some time in the spring, but otherwise, Nick, your favorite, Jose Urania. We know how much you love him.
Oh man, you're in a boatload of trouble.
He looked obese in his start. I don't think he expected to play baseball this year.
Okay.
Also, the Rangers just signed Patrick Corbin. That's a funny in and out for the Rangers to take out Jose Uranian.
Oh, did they really? The Rangers just signed Patrick
Corbin?
Last
hour, yeah.
Oh no!
So that's going to take the spot from Rocker and Leither right now. One of those guys now is going to miss a spot. For Patrick Corbin again.
Corbin
that's a whole conversation. I don't know if that's
going AAA.
Because Adrian Hauser was the one that I thought would be in there with Leither.
We've been through that before.
But
he 7 starts last year.
Give it a shot.
This actually brings up an interesting point though for you guys. There are going to be NRIs who did not make their team despite pitching decently well. And maybe there are some of those guys. I don't know who they are on the top of my head, but like, for example, this is why the Yankees are very likely to have Carlos Carrasco as the number 5. I've been saying this for the last couple weeks because Carrasco was looking okay. And instead of bringing up Will Warren and losing that depth, they have no depth after that. So they might as well just get Carrasco for whatever they can and then get Will Warren later. You might see that those opportunities here and there, and that might be your solution. Kyle Gibson's still out there. Lance Lynn is still out there.
I can't watch Kyle Gibson pitch for the Mets.
Something else that was annoying about that is that with Francisco Alvarez now going on the IL and likely not needing a 60-day trip, the Mets are going to need to add a catcher to their 40-man roster by opening day.
Oh,
That was probably an empty 40-man spot. They probably were intending to take a risk on the pitcher. So I wonder now how they wind up playing around with that, if they wind up cutting one of their infielders, I don't think they're going to cut an out. I mean, they probably will wind up cutting an outfielder because you probably don't need to carry both Canario and Jose Azocar. I think Canario actually will have to release if he doesn't make the opening day roster, but I think that was probably an annoying little twist that had to happen to this 40-man roster before opening day, where I'm sure they were intending to add another pitcher to this.
So Blake Tidwell is someone you might see get some innings, guys, for your Mets.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jonah Tong is kind of cool.
He's
so
awesome. Cool. He's the best.
He's kind of cool.
Not this year, though.
He throws like super over the top at 20 inches of vert, and then has a low to mid and 80s curveball from that. And this is one of the things that I find so interesting. In a lot of clubs, we say, okay, cool, like he's in single A, he needs to go to double A or whatever, and then like go up the process. I absolutely love when clubs look at their entire team and they go, let's just see how this goes. And then like just says, great, we're just going to bring this up. Make some space in the 40-man. It's like, you know what, Paul Blackburn, we're done. Yeah. Jonah, let's just go and take a chance with that instead of just kind of letting those bullets wait there. Like they're not going to do that. Atlanta did this last year.
Yeah.
Right. And obviously it paid off in a big way with Spencer Schwellenbach. Right. But they also were very aggressive with the AJ Smith Shawver out of nowhere too.
Yeah.
And I'm really for it. I think a lot of teams wait too long to promote their pitchers, and you got to throw a lot of these guys into the fire. You need these innings. You need to save bullets. Like a lot of guys are getting Tommy John stuff. They throw in the minors for 3 years. And it's like, guys, that could have been production up here, So I'm not saying that Jonah Tong is ready right now.
Yeah.
But there might be a moment like he has a couple good starts and they're just like, all right, we need something. Let's go.
I think if there's a guy that can be, it's Nolan McLean.
Yeah.
Because Nolan McLean already has a major league caliber sweeper, and he already has a very good fastball, and he's been working on the gyro and the cutter. And there's probably going to be a change coming if he can at some point. So I think he's the one, because he's going to be turning 24 years old at some point this season, where Tong is still 21, spring chicken, only one true professional season where he threw 100 innings. McLean's the guy. You're completely
right.
Yeah, if there's something crazy does happen, and there's something wrong with either Sproat or Tidwell because they'll get those shots first, he's the one that could be the nuclear call-up. That was a good call-out about the Braves. They did make the playoffs last year because of their aggressiveness with those pitchers.
My hot take, too, with Tong is going to be that I think because he's like such a like stat darling and like he's got so much heat right now and he's a very enticing pitcher, he might be the guy that gets moved. Yeah, because you just cash in on the helium that you have with this kid right now.
I mean, I think you guys need to do something. And like McLean, I actually even wrote that I'm twiddling my thumbs until I get AAA data.
That's fair.
Yeah, definitely.
I hope it's great because it's like mid-90s velocity with great sweepers. You mentioned that high 80s cutter. That's cool.
We had the one inning in the breakout game last year, and the data was pretty nutty, but still one inning. One inning is just one inning for a starter.
Yeah, I know, but you can get a lot from an inning. That was cool.
That was really cool. We had that.
I got one final question for you here, Nick. Please. Most valuable Mets pitcher for the 2025 season, who is it going to be?
You know who it is.
It's my boy David Peterson.
It's David Peterson.
Hell yeah, love to hear that.
That's our guy.
Well, I mean, it's the most valuable, as in like you need him to be valuable.
Yeah.
It's the most important one, I think. It's not even Kodai Senga. I'm actually already saying like, don't lower your expectations for Kodai Senga.
Welcome to the Mets'd podcast. That's our take as well.
We've been saying that
right?
for a while.
Like really, I'm hoping that it's great, but Peterson is the one that would stabilize this to some degree. Don't expect the Megill, Canning, Blackburn, three amigos here to work out. Okay, they're gonna show up like they're at the film set instead of actually in Mexico. Okay, like that might be what happens here. Okay, but it's David Peterson. Get it together, Peterson. We need you.
Love it.
We all need you.
I want one more question for Nick.
Please.
If you had to pick one of these guys to be a more valuable Met this season, would it be Griffin Canning or Tylor Megill? Sophie's choice. I know.
It's evil.
Sophie's choice. Don't. Let's. That's a real human choice. All right. I think you're gonna get more out of Griffin Canning.
Ooh, wow.
Nice.
Well, I mean, I think it's just because it's like he can do his thing normally.
Yeah.
Where like Megill, it's just like, dude, are you gonna?
You'll know which Megill's showing up.
This is the Met fan coming out again.
It's a lower
That's
ceiling.
what I'm saying. Nick's a Met fan now.
Lower ceiling, but where you are in the rotation with them, it's just like, please just give us 5 of like 200 run ball.
Yeah.
Like, please, Canning, just throw enough sliders, please. Megill, it's like, stop trying to make the American sport happen, man.
He threw a lot last outing. I think he threw 13 of them.
I want to see one start where he is missing all of his four seamers too high.
Yeah. Just like Mackenzie.
Right?
Clark.
I mean, that's the kind of thing that I yell at a lot.
Mama Megill's a avid listener of the podcast, so maybe she can get into Tylor's head here.
No, I'm serious, Tyler. Like, it's okay to suck for a game or two. Like, just no, I'm serious. You have to. And if it's, you really understand that. Look at Bailey Ober, and that he is 90-91 and having success was, yes, I know an amazing changeup, but I used to call him Bailey Oberizzi because of the way he used to paint the top of the zone like Jake Odorizzi does. Look at Cody Bradford doing this. It is made for you to succeed with it. He actually has a flat attack angle. Like,
no, it's a good pitch.
But it's what I see is someone just aiming for the glove in the middle. And you have to just have a mindset and grow with it and let yourself grow to get there. Fail, because you can't develop without failure. So just go one start, 70% four seamers and just hitting above the zone. Just do that.
There it is. Tylor Megill, you know the plan. Nick, you're the man. Thank you so much for coming on. Tell everybody what you're up to and where they can find you.
Oh, man, my pleasure, guys. Well, here's the thing. This season on Playback, we're going to be watching live baseball. And that means it's Twitch for live sports. So go to playback.tv/pitchlist. You might see these guys join me for a stream or two. And watch Mets games, watch all baseball games. If a baseball game is on, stop watching it alone on MLB.tv. You just watch it on Playback with an amazing community who is all about being passionate about the game, positive, no sports betting or anything, just about like focus on the game and celebrating it. So all day opening day next week, come to playback.tv/pitcherlist, and it's going to be the best. So can't wait to see you guys there.
Love to hear it. Nick, thanks so much. And we will catch you guys all on the next episode of the Mets'd podcast. Peace out.
Thanks, Nick.